Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a while since we did an episode, but really excited to be back. And today I have a very exciting episode, a very exciting guest. I'm joined by Anna George, who's the co-founder and CEO of CowSwap. I'm sure many of you have heard of it. Anna's actually like a legit OG. She's been in this industry, I guess, as long as I have. As early as 2017, she started working as a BD lead at Gnosis, and then eventually developed the Cow protocol and migrated off into its own individual project, which she'll tell us more about. But before that, she was actually working for, I guess, close to a decade on humanitarian issues. Oh, there you are, Anna. I'm just like, I'm just introducing you or practicing introducing you because I don't actually know. We actually haven't met before. So nice to
Hi.
meet you.
Sorry for the delay. Sorry.
All good, all good, all good. Welcome to the show. I'm very happy to have you here today. I was just telling the audience, looking from your LinkedIn profile, it looks like you have like a decade of experience in like humanitarian related roles before getting into crypto. So that's something I would love to hear more about today. So Anna, welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself to the audience. Welcome to Beyond the Code, the podcast where industry experts and brilliant legal minds discuss the impact of new emerging technologies. I'm your host, Yitzy Hammer, a lawyer and tech enthusiast. Join us as we explore the legal, regulatory, and ethical issues surrounding AI, blockchain, and more. Get ready to go beyond the code and stay ahead of the game.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm Anna, as you said, and been working in crypto since 2017. Initially as part of Gnosis, and then we started actually as part of Gnosis working on Cow protocol, and then realized that we actually had found a good product market fit and decided to take it out, spin out. And since then, we have been since February 2022, we have been independent. And since then, I am director CEO of the development company that is behind Cow Aave.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Anna George is the co-founder and CEO of CowSwap, Cow Protocol, the Cow DAO. It has like a bunch of different names, but I don't want to hear about any of that yet. Okay, I want to hear first about who are you, Anna? Like, what were you doing for those 10 years, working for the UN and other humanitarian organizations before you got into crypto? And then why don't you tell us how you got into crypto, and then we could talk about Gnosis and Cow and all that.
Sounds amazing. Okay, cool. So I'm originally German, but I've always loved traveling. So I spent a lot of my years during high school and after traveling and like studying abroad. So I've spent some time in Panama and Rwanda and China and Australia and London, and I'm missing a few places right now, but across the globe in different
Okay.
locations. And so after finishing high school, I was really keen on doing a volunteering program, but not one of those that are very short because, I think there's a few of those that run for like a month and then people practically just pay to go somewhere to have the experience, but they don't actually contribute in any way because they just dive in for a couple of weeks and then they say bye and leave right away.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want to do that. So I did a program that was part of like a big stipend program from the German government to go and do a 1-year volunteering program. I did that in Central Africa, in Rwanda, the small country of Rwanda, and spent a year there, which was extremely interesting for me. Like I had a lot of learnings. And then from there, I went,
Wait, one second. So what did you do there for a year?
So officially, I was supposed to work in a high school, and I did. It was for marginalized children who came from families that either both parents had died or one of the parents had died, families with poor background. And a lot of it was still very heavily marked from the genocide, because the genocide happened in 1994. I was there in 2010. So it had been just 16 years since the genocide ended. And of course, that had left very deep marks in the population. Um, and yeah, so I was at the school primarily teaching English, as the country had just changed the national language from French to English, which was an economically driven move to be closer to the East African community, to Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, that all have English as part of their national languages. Um, but the issue was that this move was done in such a short time period that there was not sufficient time for teachers to be trained and actually know how to speak English, because they had their own education system until that had been in French. And some of the teachers of my school had been sent to Uganda for a 4 weeks program to learn English, and then were forced to teach their own students in English,
Oh, wow.
math, geography, all the different classes, to teach that in English while they were not confident in speaking English. So a lot of the content was just learning by heart, saying it, and then the kids had to repeat exactly the same words, exactly the same sentences
Where
that the
nobody really understands what they're saying or doing. So you were probably like the most experienced teacher at what, like 17, 18 years old?
But no. I mean, the teachers were obviously way more
They were
experienced. I
experienced
mean, right?
teachers,
Like
but
they
not in
knew what
but
they
not
were
in teaching in
teaching.
English. Yeah.
They
But they
actually
were forced
knew
to teach in a language they didn't understand. Right.
exactly. So the only, well, I wouldn't say I contributed anything, right? But obviously, since I had studied in English before, I was more fluent in English, so I could help a little bit on that side. Um, but of course, I was also zero trained, right? It's not like it's still baffling. It's still an interesting thought, this whole volunteering program, because obviously, since I just finished high school, I was 18 years old when I went. It's not like I went to I underwent a good training program, so that would have made me qualified to actually help and contribute.
Right.
So still questionable, the whole idea behind this program, but at least I tried as much as possible to be supportive. Yeah, that primarily. And then, of course, there's also school holidays. And so during the school holidays, I went to the orphanage that was next door. And I think some of the things that helped was just trying within my own family, friends, community to get a few donations so that I could get supplies, like a lot of pens, like things to do art with, and then just entertain the kids as much as possible to just provide a little bit of fun in between.
And so what did you do after that year was over?
Oh yeah. Um, yeah, then I went on and was generally just genuinely really interested in cultures. I guess I didn't have like a super strong conviction of, like, some people, they're always like, okay, I want to study law and that's the one thing I want to do. It wasn't really the case for me. I was very interested in cultures and in languages. So I signed up for the Free University in Berlin
Okay.
for an ethnology program that was basically combinational bachelor between that, political science, and then Chinese.
Wow.
I did
Okay.
2 years of intense Mandarin lessons at that university.
Wow.
The program, if you're interested in studying Chinese, that program at Free University in Berlin is actually really, really good.
Okay.
You have
Like, do you speak
very
fluent Mandarin now?
when I drink a
Or
beer,
you did?
I get better. I mean, it's been a very long time that I actually used it, like in practice, that I lived in
Right.
China. I would say back then it was like conversational.
Okay.
To be honest, I mean, you hear I have a strong accent when I speak English, and I have the same, unfortunately, when I speak Chinese. So my accent is not the
It's
best.
that curse of being German, unfortunately, that you can't shake the accent no matter what.
At least I cannot, unfortunately. Yeah, but it was they have a really good Chinese program, and then after 2 years of that, I went to Nanjing for 6 months, and I did um
You
very, very
practice
every
your
day, 6, 7, 8 hours of additional Chinese classes.
wow.
At the end of it, I did 安于数平考试, like the 4th level of it, which is equivalent to B2 or even C1, no, probably B2. So it wasn't bad, but
Wow.
was very interesting. And then after that, I did an internship in the German embassy in Panama. And after that, I went on doing my master's program in the UK, in London. Still
Also
connected.
in languages and cultures?
And no, it was actually that one was, how was it called? It's basically economics together with Chinese, though. I still wanted to have some connection to my bachelor's degree, so I didn't only focus on economics, but connected that with additional Chinese, not Chinese language skills, but that one was more like business negotiations in China, etc. Um, yeah, that was it. And then after my master's finished, then I actually that's where slowly we are getting into the blockchain era. Not quite yet, but the next step was doing an internship program at the United Nations in New York.
Okay.
I think 9 months long, and then afterwards they offered me a job, so I stayed on for an additional 2 years or so.
Okay.
Um, and
Doing what? Like, what were you doing?
I was at the United Nations Development Group, so essentially I'm sure everybody knows UNICEF, UNHCR, like the classic ones. But
Sure.
in total, there's 32 different
UN
humanitarian agencies from the UN across the globe,
acronyms.
spread
Hmm.
across 121 different country offices. And
Wow.
they have a secretariat. And I was working essentially for that secretariat that is like overseeing all these different country offices and the different
Hmm.
institutions. And was basically looking into they had the standard operating procedures. It was back then a new reform of like how can we as a UN, while we have so many different agencies, how can we collaborate more efficiently across the different agencies, um, by uniting their programs, by uniting their finances, etc. And so that was just being implemented. And so, me being at the secretariat, I was observing the progress on these initiatives, like how many of the initiatives that they were supposed to implement have they already implemented? What are lessons learned? Where have they made progress? What are like learnings that they should be sharing with other country offices so that they can also improve on the operations? Yeah, and so basically, I did that in New York together with a big team. And then after that, I was asked to do it on the regional level.
Hmm.
So they have the regional office of Latin America and Caribbean is based in Panama. So after 2 years, they sent me to Panama to basically replicate the same work, but on the regional focus. I did that, but I think that was about the same time where I started to get a little bit annoyed by all the bureaucracy from the United Nations. It was
Okay.
a funny you have to imagine, you want to send out an email to someone in the organization just to make them aware, like, of something. You
Something.
cannot you cannot just send them the email, right? You have to go to your boss, who has to go to their boss, who then maybe can send out the email,
Okay.
because you're nobody.
Right.
Unless you're like a director, you're nobody.
Wow.
Um and then similarly, if the country director, for example, wants to send an email, they don't write it themselves. It's not their secretary that writes it. It's also not somebody directly reporting to them that writes it, but it's
Sounds
in
highly
sense
efficient.
me me pre-writing the email, then my boss reviewing 121 emails, whatever, and then sending it on behalf of that director. And
Oh my
it's
God.
just nuts. It's just nuts. It's like things are moving very slow. It just feels very inefficient, and it just doesn't feel like you are very impactful in your work.
Because
And that
somebody else is paying for it. So
I mean, they also do good work, right? But it's like it's
you could
another.
probably cut like, I don't know,
Yes,
40% of the staff and get this or 60
yes,
and still get the same results.
yeah. That's a huge problem because most of the times the people who are in charge of doing budget cuts, they're incentivized for different reasons to not cut the budget.
It's like
Um,
with governments and other very large organizations, unfortunately.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, at that
So
point,
how did that help you segue into blockchain?
it just got me so. I really like working there for some reasons. I had a great team. I had like sometimes some of the tasks were actually challenging, not all, but some. And it was just it was an interesting world because everybody had lived across so many countries and continents for so many years. That was really intriguing to meet all these people. But yeah, the work at some point just wasn't challenging enough anymore. It was just not interesting. And you also want to, like, you are in your 20s, you want to be impactful, right? You want to work on something that is exciting and that can
Sure.
actually make a difference. And actually, before I moved to Panama, um, I had a colleague in New York who started kind of like weekly meetings on knowledge sharing, and they invited someone who was looking deeper into blockchain. And that made me think, wow, if the United Nations is looking into blockchain, then I'm probably already quite late to the topic. That was in 2017. Because usually they're quite behind when it comes to new
Exactly. Yeah.
technologies. And New York was a great place to learn more about it. This kind of like got me like interested in learning more about blockchain. And then I looked around, and Consensus played a huge role in New York. They had built up this tremendous big team, and they were organizing a lot of co-hosting a lot of meetups about Ethereum. And so I started attending these, and that got me more excited about it. And then I basically, in parallel, I moved to Panama, and I got really upset about my job. So that kind of then made me eventually take the decision, okay, I need to make a change. I actually want to, like, if not now, when am I ever going to make this jump? And I decided to move fully into blockchain.
Okay. And then you came to Gnosis, which was then like a relatively young company, right? They started in like 2015 and this was like 2017. So they were still a small team. I don't actually
Okay.
know what Gnosis does. I'm familiar with Safe and I know that CowSwap migrated out of Gnosis, but like them themselves without before they like spun out into these other side projects, like what were they or are they?
Gnosis' big thing has been very early on prediction markets.
Really?
Yeah, they were the very, very first company that, well, there was also Augur, but
Right.
they have disappeared for a long time. But Gnosis, yeah, was the big player that focused on prediction markets. And they had been working on something similar already on Bitcoin. And then I think Joe
Okay.
Lubin reached out and convinced them, hey, why don't you replicate the same thing for Ethereum? And they did. So they were part of Consensus at first, and then did their ICO in early 2017, became independent, and that's when they started building up their own team. And I joined in November 2017. So by the time there were
Like
around
shortly after
10,
the ICO.
10
Hmm.
people or so already. But yeah, they, like, the founders of Gnosis had been working on this for years. And yeah, prediction markets was basically the big thing. Like, considering that if you do crowdsourcing of the knowledge of like, if you crowdsource knowledge from a lot of people, you can probably predict the outcome of, for example,
Yeah, they weren't
presidential.
wrong. They just weren't they weren't fast enough and they
They were
didn't
too early, as always.
exactly.
Gnosis is always too early. They have great ideas, but and
Yeah.
multiple times they have just launched things too early, and
Yeah.
then someone else years later picks it up and becomes more successful with it.
Wow. So you came on relatively early, shortly after the ICO. Must have been like a really exciting time, but also you didn't have much background in blockchain, so you probably had a bit of a learning curve to get over. What was that like?
Um, that's a very good point. That makes me just feel about people who join now, because I think 2017, yes, the learning curve was huge at the beginning, but imagine now in 2020, what is it, 2025 still?
Yeah. Yeah.
The learning curve must be even so much higher now. Yeah, it was a lot of podcasts, YouTube videos. What was actually really good, we had internal AMAs. So there was basically an anonymous round organized by like the more senior people at Gnosis, that you didn't feel like you asked stupid questions. They would just ask
That's
anything and
nice.
everything. That was very helpful to like incentivize that people would relatively quickly onboard themselves and like understand and like get up to speed.
Wow. Okay. And so then you started like going up the ranks, I guess, in Gnosis as the company grew and as it spun out to different products. And then how did CowSwap happen?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for prediction markets, there was always the need to find a more efficient trading mechanism. The reason
Hmm.
is that for prediction markets, essentially you say, okay, for the next presidential election in the USA, who is going to win, the Democrats or the Republicans, and then people decide which of the two outcomes they think is realistically going to happen. But people also want to get out of their positions, right? They don't just want to say, oh, this is my position and I hold it until it actually happens and then I cash out. But
Hmm.
people also see, okay, the probability right now says 60% versus 40, but I think this is not
So
justified,
I'll lose 20
right?
cents on the dollar instead of 60 cents on the dollar.
Yes.
Okay.
And then basically maybe a week later they want to get out of their position because they feel like, okay, now the odds are much more realistic. Instead of waiting until the event actually happens a year from now,
Hmm.
I want to get out of my position now. And for this, there was just no efficient on-chain trading mechanism to make this happen. And because of that, Gnosis started in 2017 already to look into more efficient ways of allowing users to exchange tokens for each other. And we launched, or Gnosis launched. But there was one DEX that a lot of research went into that didn't see the light of day. There was another DEX that was launched that was called Dutch Exchange. Um, was technically really interesting, but from a user experience, unfortunately, not really where it had to be. Like technically, it was really really well done, fully decentralized, but users there was a few things wrong with it. But one of them, it would take essentially 6 hours for an auction to end. So if you wanted to do a trade, you would have to wait 6 hours until you actually receive
Oh my god,
the
six
token.
hours.
Yes. So
Wow. Okay. So that really is
obvious,
early.
and that was
Wow.
obviously a huge UX flaw. Um, which but was we launched it. I guess we got a few like we got some trading volume on it, but it never really picked up. Um, and then we went back to the drawing board and we launched something that was the predecessor of what is Cow Protocol today.
Hmm.
Already more like Cow Protocol, but not quite yet.
Okay.
Um, it had two issues essentially. Um, it was also fully on chain, but that meant that it required users to deposit and withdraw, and transaction costs were high on
Hmm.
Ethereum back then. So you would have to pay in order to deposit your tokens, and then later, once the trade was executed, you would have to pay to withdraw and get the tokens back into your account. That was one of the issues, and another issue was that it was like an order book where you would only trade against other existing liquidity from other users or market makers. And there you have this chicken and egg problem. Market makers will only onboard to your platform if you have
You have
sufficient
liquidity.
users and trading activity. And users are only going to come if you provide good prices, for which you need market makers.
Yeah.
so so that was another huge design issue or flaw.
So how did you
And
guys deal with that?
that is ultimately what then led us to Cow Protocol. But it shows you how relevant it is to bring things to market,
Sure.
like not be heads down for years and try to develop something and then realize,
And
oh
then you
shit.
miss what's on the, yeah, of
Exactly.
course.
But it really helps. Like you keep iterating with MVPs, bring something out to market quickly, see if it works, what doesn't work, and like try
Go
to
back and tweak it. Yeah.
exactly and improve on it. And because I think it's really, really difficult to get something right the very first time you try. Like that's
Sure.
very like that's not super realistic. And
And do you guys
that
have like a community of users that give you that feedback? Like where like was there a conversation happening between you and the product users where they were saying like let's do it like this, or is it you guys just watching all the time and seeing how to tweak?
yeah, I mean, we didn't have a ton of users to collect this feedback from, to
Okay.
be honest. So people always bother the same people. Like, for example, just like some friends that were working in the same co-working space that we knew were doing some on-chain trading activities. So we would ask them to play some trades and like provide feedback, what they liked, what they didn't like. I think we were also at Gnosis one of the very first teams that actually hired an in-house user researcher. So we hired someone specifically for that to then, even before things would go live, to already do like a test run, like ask a community member, hey, do you have 30 minutes to test something that nobody else has seen yet, and then make them do the screen sharing, and like we observe how they react and what steps they take. And that ultimately led us to go back to the drawing board and finally come out with what is now Cow protocol. So we really, on that one, we took our learnings into place and decided, okay, let's work on an MVP. Let's bring it to market quickly before we try to make it perfect. It's not fully decentralized from the get-go. Users do not have to deposit and withdraw on chain. And primarily, this is what kind of brought us about what is today this enormous solver ecosystem that we have, is to allow these third-party market makers that are not only market makers, but really anybody who wants to run an algorithm to execute trades against on-chain liquidity. So not just across different trades that are in the order book, not just against their own in-house liquidity, but really channel existing trades against existing on-chain liquidity, whether it's Uniswap, SushiSwap, or Curve, or Balancer, or whatever underlying pool. And then we launched it, and I think within 1 week, we had achieved almost as much trading volume as we had achieved with the previous version over
Wow.
several months. And that gave us like the silence, like, okay, people seem interested. People on Twitter, they talk about it. We have finally, seems like we have hit a niche, like people are excited about this. So, and then we doubled down and we invested more resources, built out the product, made it better and better and better. And then, yeah,
All
really
under Gnosis at this point.
still under Gnosis. And then we actually identified one of the key, obviously not the only one, but one of the key reasons for why we became more successful, at least early on, was also the different branding. So Cow protocol is
So where did
obviously,
the cow come from? Like, why is that? How did that become a thing?
it stands for coincidence of ones. Yeah, it's basically
Coincidence,
called,
coincidence of ones. Okay, what does that
yes.
mean?
It means essentially that we can match users peer-to-peer, which is something
Okay,
other text aggregators until today cannot do.
okay.
So why you can do a transaction and we could swap you against Uniswap, but if you want to trade ETH for DAI and someone else wants to trade DAI for ETH, we just
So you
match
can go like
DAI.
directly peer to peer. Wow. Okay.
Yes. And this
And
way you
still, you're
say
the only one who does that.
yes, until this day. We are the only
Okay.
one
Again,
who
what is it? Coincidence of ones.
yes. It's
Okay.
like it's like the economic concept behind it. It's like the
Okay.
term, the economic real term
Cool.
for this was coincidence
So
of ones
it became
and
cow.
COW. And
And
so,
then what? Like, how did you make your own branding? Just like a new Twitter account?
for example, and that was one of the key things because beforehand, everything, so Gnosis didn't only do prediction markets. As you mentioned at the beginning, Gnosis has the Gnosis Safe multisig wallet. There were also
Gnosis Pay.
but Gnosis Pay is new, but they had a couple of more projects already back then. And they were running a client, for example. They took over a client from the Ethereum Foundation. Carpathy, like the whole treasury management arm, was already born. They were running some governance-related safe modules that improve how on-chain governance can function and be automatically executed. So they had really a variety of different products, and people who came to the Gnosis Discord, they didn't really feel like they had a community. Like some of the users wanted to talk about multisig wallet, others wanted to talk about prediction markets, and then the people who wanted to come for DEX trading, they were lost. They were like, which channel is for me? Like people are
Yeah.
here for different reasons. And that was part of like this whole branding approach that before we launched, we had like from the marketing side an internal workshop, and we tried to understand like what makes other protocols more successful. Why are we not as successful yet? And one of the key findings was that we are taking ourselves too seriously. Gnosis was, I think, has always been very respected on the technological side.
Hmm.
Um, Extremely good developers, no hacks, just technically really profound.
Also, like early players, and they didn't screw anybody, which is like
Yes.
Very rare in
That
this
was a
industry.
big win too, yes. And for that they were known, but they weren't really known for like being more light, like more fun. And that was different to SushiSwap, to Uniswap, etc. that were quite
Pancake
successful.
swap. Yeah.
Exactly. And so with COW, CowSwap was born. And so we had like an internal meeting where we had a lot of fun. We basically put together everybody of the team who was slightly creative and just said, okay, for like half an hour, we were like running everybody to be creative and like added puns after puns after puns. And I think this is also how this sound was born, that whenever you do a trade on CowSwap, it makes moo. One of the many things that came out of this meeting. and um and first we basically did like an internal brainstorming, then we presented it to the rest of the team. They loved it, and we were like, okay, if the rest of the team loves it, let's try it.
Then let's roll with it. Yeah.
And I think that really helped us when we launched, because there was a few people who picked up on it, and like half the people, they hated it, but they still tweeted about it.
Right.
They were like,
So like
just
I
like,
guess
what the hell, did all other animal names were already taken, so this is why they now picked on cow, and like
but people were
but
talking about you. So I guess
they
like
were talking about us, and like,
any
and then
PR is good PR.
yeah, exactly. And then there were a few people who had like 80,000 followers and who started talking about us, and some of them actually quite supportive. And yeah, that really got it going. So more and more people, and they got excited. There's a new product. Let me at least try it out. They tried it, and I liked it because it actually provided a good experience. And I think there were two more things in our favor. One was that gas prices were really high at the time. So there were reports of users wasting $200 on placing a trade that then was not executed. It failed, and it just
Yeah, I
wasted
remember that.
money. And on CowSwap, since it's an intent-based system, it only takes funds from the users like to pay for the transaction cost if the trade is actually successful.
What does that
Otherwise,
mean, intent based?
it basically means users, they don't sign the on-chain transaction that gets executed like that, as it used to be the case for any standard
Right.
DEX like
Yeah.
normal Uniswap, etc. But instead, you just sign the intent. So you say, I would like, this is my limit price. This is the token I would like to receive. This is the max slippage tolerance I'm willing to take. But now someone else executes
Needs to
its
match it,
transaction
right? And
on
if
my
you
behalf on
so
chain.
only if it's matched, then you get charged the gas fee.
Yes,
Very
exactly.
cool.
And that was a huge win, because this way people could trade without losing money for fair transactions. That was one. And then the second one, at the time we launched, MEV became this huge topic, this maximal. Back then it was maximal, but the name of it changed because it was initially only minor extractable value. And then, of course, the whole system from
Like minimal
Ethereum,
extractable value. Yeah.
um, maximal.
Maximal, sorry.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. Then changed to maximum extractable value. When we changed to proof of stake. Um, and yeah, that was a huge topic. Like everybody started talking about it. People started to finally understand that they're being screwed when they're trying to place a simple transaction on chain, because there's more sophisticated players who take away value from you by front running you, by sandwiching you, and by basically exploiting your slippage tolerance to the max. And as there was more transparency, more data published about this happening, more and more users started to care. Obviously, they don't want to lose this money. And then CowSwap launched with the first ever. Well, there was actually one other DEX that also tried to solve for MEV, Eden Network. I think they actually launched 2 weeks or so before CowSwap launched, but somehow they weren't as successful. And then yeah, CowSwap really became known for the
Lucky
platform
you.
that solves PV.
Yeah, wow. I think I remember I met your team for the first time in at ECC in 2022, I think. And you guys were, I heard somebody speak from your team. I can't remember who it was, but it was, I was very excited because you guys gave out awesome socks. Still have them. It's little cow socks. But also it was very cool. Like it's cool to see, different teams innovating in different ways. And, sometimes it's, it's unfortunate when you see like real innovation, but the community not responding, or not, a lack of correlation in like the excitement and like the innovate in the innovation that's being put into the products, and the lack of like community excitement. And I think it usually comes from like there not being enough of like a hype or a pump like associated with it. That, like, to me, that's like the saddest thing in this industry. I've been in this industry, I guess, as long as you have been, is like that unfortunately most of the value goes to the teams that make the most noise, and not necessarily the ones that are bringing the most value to the industry. Um, like I've
Yeah, that's
seen
very true.
so
That's very
many so many projects succeed that shouldn't, just because they've managed to pump their token more than somebody else, and so many other teams that are just like so dedicated, so innovative, so entrepreneurial, but it just like the market isn't trending in their direction, and they don't get the same, um I guess, like, attention that they should.
Yeah. It's really hard to do it right, I would say. It's true, like, there's definitely companies that come to mind, but wouldn't name them. There were
We all know
more
who they are.
they were more successful on, like, drafting the narrative and, like, pumping their tokens, and then I would say that then in retrospective, they ultimately then also managed to get better tech because more money also helps you hire better people and, like, build a better product. Um And then there's a lot of companies that the technology is super strong, but, they might suck at marketing, unfortunately, and so they just don't get the attention that they deserve. And I think I would say our, marketing definitely has improved, but it could also be better. And I think a lot of it was also luck of being there at the right time, launching at the right moment when other people created this whole narrative around MEV, and us just being there right on time and launching with the right focus at the moment where people paid attention to it. So that definitely helped a lot. So that there was definitely also a lot of luck for us, of having the right timing.
So where are you guys at today, and where are you going? Like, what new exciting things do you guys have cooking? What are your thoughts for the future?
We have a lot of exciting things
Give us
cooking.
some teasers.
Yeah. So where are we today? I think we launched, which I wouldn't say is as exciting yet, but we launched a like simple version of cross-chain Cow. It allows users to just go to CowSwap and not just place the trade, but place the trade and like receive it on a new network.
Hmm.
And I think that's important because what two things. One trend is clear that there used to be maybe one dominant chain, Ethereum, and then more networks popped up. But now I would still say there's a lot of networks that are more noise and they're not successful in the long term. But if you look at it holistically, I would say at least Ethereum, Solana, Binance, and Base, they have around 80% of all trading volume that happens on chain. It shows that it's definitely more than just one network that is important. And at the same time, you have still the core of people who have been around for years and like understand all the different networks, understand how bridging works, even though it's complicated and annoying, but they understand how to do it. But then you have this new wave of users coming in. You have TradFi trying to get in, and they they don't want to deal with that really bad, horrific user experience of okay, I did a swap and now I want to actually get a token, but that token only exists on Solana. So how do I get the user now to get this token on Solana without them having to like understand how bridging works, et cetera, et cetera. So we build like a first step of making it easier by aggregating a bunch of different bridges and automatically proposing to the user what bridge is the fastest and offers the best price. And then they can decide, okay, I want to receive my token on a different network and just have one single interaction on our UI, and then it happens in the background and they don't have to worry about it. That launched this year and we have made a lot of improvements. So if you tried it out a few months ago, the UX was not perfect yet. I think it has significant
Okay.
improvements. But this is still not the future. So we're basically currently working on the future of cross-chain trading. Most of it is not public yet, but we are working on like a very sophisticated trading engine that instead of replicating Cow protocol on each network individually, there will only be one Cow protocol, and you can trade on Solana, on Ethereum, or wherever, but you're only interfacing with one single Cow protocol and not with a variety of different ones that are replicated across chains.
The ultimate UX.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. And so this is one big topic. Then also what is really exciting, we just had this huge collaboration with Aave announced a couple of weeks ago. So all the trading flow is now channeled via Cow protocol, which significantly improves also their users' UX. So for example, let's say you want to create, like you want to take out a loan of tokens, and your underlying collateral is in a token that you actually don't want to have as collateral anymore. Let's say you put ETH down, but actually you want to use something else. You want to use Bitcoin or whatever
You know,
it
like
is.
switch your collateral over.
Yeah. So basically, so far, what you would have needed to do is like pay back whatever the loan you took out to repay it, take out your
And
initial
then put a new
collateral,
collateral, new
and
terms,
then exactly,
multiple
like
transactions along the way.
exactly. And
Okay.
this is now basically bundled into one single user interaction on Cow protocol.
Where you just like swap your collateral basically.
Exactly. So you basically just say, I want to swap this, and then underlyingly the solver takes a flash loan and automatically does the collateral swap for you without having to ever pay back your loan. That's one of the many things that is now easily facilitated on Aave with help of Cow. And we're expanding on that. So we have a lot of exciting ideas to help with improving liquidations and also to actually allow users to never get to a situation that they would have to liquidate. So imagine that you say that I have backed my position with 10 Ether, but the value of Ether just dropped by 10%. So I'm getting very close to being liquidated. You
Hmm.
could have an automatized standing order on Cow protocol that would basically always check what's the ratio of Ether, how safe is my collateralized position, and automatically basically back up your collateralized position to ensure that it's always at a certain percentage above the liquidation risk.
So you never liquidated. You just swapping assets or like increasing your collateral position.
Correct. Exactly.
Wow.
And
Cool.
yeah, that's basically something we can facilitate, and we are also working on now in Q1. Then we also want to bring a bunch of smart orders to EOA accounts. For example, TWAP orders, like time-weighted average price trades that you say, I want to swap $10 million worth. That's a lot of money. I don't know how many people do this, but I want
Over
to
a
swap.
period of X.
Exactly. I want to swap that, but not obviously it would have a huge price impact if I did all of this at once.
Yeah.
Instead, let me do it in different steps, like every hour or every day. I want to do a chunk of X, and then it's automatically done on your behalf. And this was so far only possible for smart accounts, and we will now bring it to EOA accounts. So you will soon be able to do this out of your MetaMask, Rabby, Rainbow wallet, whatever
Wow.
wallet you use.
And do you see like a direct correlation with like your releasing new features and having new users come onto the platform?
Yes, that depends on the feature, to be honest. On
Hmm.
some features, you see a stronger correlation. And again, it also depends on the narrative. How good was your marketing? How good is your reach? And usually I would also say it takes time. So that's a mistake we did in the past. We would release a new feature, let's say limit orders, and we would expect the next.
Immediately, like everybody to come. Right.
Exactly. And then the reality is it takes time. Like it's you're not doing yourself a favor if you review the KPI after 1 week or even 1 month, and
Yeah,
then you
sure.
pointed, oh, there's only X many new users we receive from this, and it only makes up 1%, let's say, of our overall
Right.
trading volume, right? But it takes time. It takes a lot of
Yeah.
time for people not first to hear about it and then also to try it out and actually do it, and then realize they like it, and like word of mouth shared with friends, and like more and more people do it. But now, so limit orders, initially when we launched it, it made almost 0% of our trading volume, and we were quite disappointed. But now it's actually one of the core features that's being mentioned by why people use Cow protocol, because they like how our limit orders can give them more money than they would get on any other exchange. So yeah, it takes time. Like, yes, it has an impact on volume, and then you
No,
use
that's a very mature approach. Like that sounds like somebody who's been doing this for a while. So what would you say are your biggest challenges right now?
many challenges. What is the tough question and many challenges? I would say what our approach to this is we always try to focus on the biggest challenge because it's so hard to focus on 10 challenges in parallel, right? So we have like me and my co-founder, colleague, CTO, I don't know how to call it. We usually do this on a regular basis. We like have regular meetings and we discuss what is currently the biggest challenge. Then we try to tackle it, and then we evaluate again. Okay, what's the next big challenge? Um, what's the challenge now? Um, I would say in-house, one of the challenges is still to hire um, good talent for a few open positions. Um, I think a challenge in-house is also to the as you grow, to keep the
The
same.
same vibe feeling for
Yes.
sure.
That, the same vibe, the same culture, the good communication that everybody still understands, "This is the vision, this is why I'm getting out of bed every day, this is what we're working on." The bigger the team grows, the harder it gets
To
to
convey
maintain.
also the same passion that you have being having done this for such a long time to somebody who's just stepping on the boat tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah, that's definitely a challenge that we're dealing with at the moment. Um,
That
yeah,
sounds like good and healthy challenges. Like it sounds like you guys are, you know, in a good place if these are your challenges.
I mean, it's good. I think there's no startup. I guess every company is always challenged from one regards, but the important is to not drown in the challenges, but
Yeah.
always make sure what is most important right now, tackle it, and then focus on what's most important next.
Okay. So how about what message do you want to leave with our audience?
For cows specifically or in
For
general?
anything, it could be anything.
Well,
If
overall, I think I'm we can be super proud of what we have achieved so far in the
you should
blockchain.
be. Yeah.
I think if we compare that to 2017 when I started, what we have achieved today, where we are with the user experience, with the applications that we have built, with the community that is created, and the amount of users now benefiting from it, I think we have come a very, very long way. But it's also a very, very long way still ahead of us. There's still a lot of things that we need to improve, a lot of UX. I think that's one of the big things that has improved, that more projects pay attention to UX, but still not enough. I think that's still something that some projects should be focusing on even more. Um, but yeah, but I would say we can be proud of what we have achieved, and we just need to keep having the same energy for the next, I don't
Yep.
know, 8 years to
Eight
to
years.
yeah, for longer, of course, but,
Yeah.
like, it's like looking back since 2017, it's been 8
Yeah.
years, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's gonna take another few years to improve even further and provide, like, we are not there yet today to replace or replicate TradFi, like, replace TradFi and, like, significantly make it better, right? We have our own challenges that we're working with. We are
Yeah, you're not wrong that one of the biggest challenges is user experience. Like the fact of the matter is, if you want to onboard the next, people say billion users, but a million or even 10,000 users, like anybody who's coming into the space for the first time, the first thing that they encounter is how poor the user experience is. So, if you're like a cypherpunk or like a techie and you're interested in this kind of stuff, then it's kind of cool. Let's figure it out together. But if you're just somebody who's used to transacting, with traditional money in the traditional way, and you want to try out something new, then it needs to be better, or it needs to at least be the same. If everything's new and bumpy and challenging, then like people are going to be like, screw this. So yeah, that is definitely the biggest challenge.
yeah, couldn't have said it better.
Well, Anna George, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your story with me. I encourage everybody to check out CowSwap. You can go to their, I'll share the link, but the main website is just swap.cow. And you could expect some really cool new features that Anna talked about coming soon. And watch this space. What's the best way to follow you, Anna? Are you active on X, on LinkedIn, on
I should
Instagram?
I should be more active on X, to be honest, but our company account is quite active. It's at
Okay.
CowSwap.
Okay. So hashtag or at CowSwap. Thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you so much for having me. It was
Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year's.
Welcome to Beyond the Code, the podcast where industry experts and brilliant legal minds discuss the impact of new emerging technologies. I'm your host, Yitzy Hammer, a lawyer and tech enthusiast. Join us as we explore the legal, regulatory, and ethical issues surrounding AI, blockchain, and more. Get ready to go beyond the code and stay ahead of the game.